Okay. 시작. Hey guys, welcome to our workshop. We'll be waiting until 12:35 for everyone to get into the call. Then we could get started right away. Waiting. Okay. Since it's 12:35, we can get started. There'll be people probably coming in and out, but we could start. Before we get into it, here's the course overview. Feel free to screenshot in between. We'll have breaks for everyone to keep up with the pace. So first off, we have the basics, where we'll be talking about color theory, shadow, and skill sets that the team thought that was essential for any artist to have or to understand. Second agenda is practicality. We'll be discussing the mental progress of our art journey. The team, especially I myself, thought that this was actually one of the most important parts of being an artist that no one really talks about or like teachers teach to students. So we'll be talking about methods to practice, how much we need to practice, and wait to actually see results of practicing and working hard, and other things that are important for our improvement. Our last agenda is career paths. We'll be providing you guys with different ways to pursue your path as an artist and direct you guys to other organizations that could help with your career. Okay, but before, hi, my name is Aileen, and I am still growing as an artist, just like you guys, but I've come here to represent TVMB, an organization that made this all possible. So here's some of my works, and I'm still working to find my style, but you could see more of the things I do in myarchive.org, but I'll be talking about that later on when we talk about career paths and how we could present ourselves through portfolios. But let's move on to the course itself. So first is basics. And I definitely won't say it is a must for every artist, but it is sure something that is very important and can help with your artistic expression after understanding these concepts. I think in basics, there's one specific thing that you need to understand, which is contrast. And contrast gives dimensions to life, to a painting or illustration, and this element is what makes artworks very interesting personally, and breaking the boundaries between 2D and 3D. So in order to give contrast in our artworks, artists often utilize these three elements: value, color, and detail, and I'll be going into detail about these. So first one is value. The easiest way to understand this is using black and white, a grayscale, and a grayscale is what you're seeing here. And now this is specific instances for when we're using black and white materials such as charcoal, pencil, or ink, but similar concepts can be applied when drawing with colors. The way that light hits the object and the shape of the object determines the value you're going to give it. The first thing to note is the angle and the direction of which the light hits. And so depending on that, the lightest shade would occupy the region that the light is the closest to, and vice versa, the darkest shade would occupy the region that the light is furthest from. And just like here, one thing to note is like the different shades are in different areas of the, oh, I could use a mouse. Okay, so the different shades that are hitting the mountains are what shapes the mountains. So the darkest regions are showing the viewers that it's further away or like out of reach from the light source. So it's creating contrast and allowing the viewers to see what the objects or what the artist is trying to portray. And the second thing, before we move on, the second thing to note is the shape. And depending on the shape of the object, the way we use gradient and blending would be different. If we want to express something more realistic, we would need to give more layers of transition to the colors from dark to light, just like how we see in this face. And the last element you should note is distance. Things tend to get lighter and blurry in further distance. For instance, utilizing this understanding, we could see that in an example of a landscape drawing, as we could see here, vertical objects, objects that have more surface area to reflect light, tend to be darker, whereas horizontal and flat objects that have no dimensions, it directly receives light from the sunlight, thus these objects tend to be in a lighter shade. So for example, a horizontal object would be like a tree, or wait, no, that would be a vertical object. Yeah, a vertical object would be a tree or like plants. Those things would tend to be darker in darker shades, not just because of the color itself, but because it's not directly hitting the light, whereas a flat land like water would be hitting light directly because it's flat and opening its surface to the sunlight, which comes from the top. And then another thing that is important, second of all, this is a subcategory, which is color. And there's a reason why the sky is blue. It is because the shade of the color has the shortest wavelength to our eyes. Thus, the cooler tones are seen as darker values of the colors in our eyes. A little bit sciencey, but it makes more sense to understand it this way. So all we have to take away from this is that warm tone colors such as red, yellow, orange are essentially brighter than cool tone shades such as blue, green, and purple. And this is exactly why these types of artworks, like the face we see here, just makes sense. It looks like a bunch of random colors, but it's actually showing the dimension of this person's face through the different shades of colors that reflects the different lighting composition this person's face has. So when we put these two concepts we learned together, we can understand these type of artworks far better. Like, we get a better gist of how we could also try and create art this way. And lastly, detail. You could easily create contrast by giving or blurring the detail of an object. This has everything to do with the way our vision works. The further away something is, the more blurry it becomes, and vice versa. The closer something is, the more clearly we could see it. And so by giving detail into the region of which the object is closer, we could create contrast and emphasize the depth of the object. For instance, here we have a portrait, and if we were to draw a person and we wanted to emphasize the height of their nose bridge, or like how big their nose is, we could draw the tiniest detail points of the person's nose, such as putting in skin textures, nose hairs, every pores and every detail points that could show the height of the nose as it would show the closeness of the nose to the viewers. And that's exactly how you guys would create contrast. And that's the end of the first segment. And yeah, so before we move on, we'll take a 5-minute break to let in newcomers and catch up with our notes, and I'll answer questions really quickly. That was 8 minutes. That was 8 minutes. Wait, I need to stop recording. How do I stop recording? Was it even recording?
Yeah, it was.
Was it?